Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, this is going to be an awesome episode. If you're a snowflake, this might hurt your ears because there might be a couple F-bombs being dropped back and forth. When you put two tankers together in the same room, it could get kind of wild. But guys, this gentleman here has been a friend, has been a nemesis, has been a mentor. And without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't be going on cruises to the Bahamas. I wouldn't be building my own podcast studio. And I wouldn't be the man that I am today, especially because of his and Lane's book, which is an amazing book. We'll talk about that later. But guys, if you want to learn how to become a humble alpha in business and in life, this is the episode for you. So, Stephen, my brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much, man. That's some big words you said there. I appreciate that.
And like I said, without you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And we're going to talk about how we met and how we went chest to chest and how you changed my life. But first question is, because I do have a TBI, if I don't ask the question, I will forget. What is your definition of resiliency?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a big definition guy. I'm not a big blurb guy. But for me, resilience is just, staying the course, man. Staying the course, consistency, doing it every day, getting up every day, replacing negative and bad thoughts with positive and productive thoughts, just moving on and doing it consciously. A lot of times people think that resilience is powering through the wall. Sometimes you got to think about what you're doing, right? And it's just say, okay, I'm moving forward. I got the momentum, vertical momentum. You want to keep going, right? And there's a thing that I talk about a lot. People talk about life balance, work-life balance, all bullshit. It's about integration. Just to give me an example. If you're on a bicycle and you're standing still, can you balance? Rarely can you balance, maybe for a few seconds. But if you're moving and you have momentum and you integrate yourself into that bike, how do you turn? Do you turn with the steering wheel or you turn by leaning? You turn by leaning because you're integrated into the bike. Same thing with life, right? So as we're moving along, you integrate your life, full life integration into your free time and your work time. You make it one, and that's the way you become successful, and you have absolute resilience when you're moving forward like that.
All right, now you are the only 4-time guest on this show when it was audio only, when it was Facebook Live, and now it's here. So some people might not know you. So give us a quick down and dirty about who you are, where you come from, where you grew up, because somebody might see how successful you are today. You got a beautiful business, a beautiful bride, beautiful children, but your life hasn't always been sunshine, rainbows, Skittles. So talk to us a little bit about who Stephen Eugene Kuhn actually is.
It's never been Skittles, but besides, look, I'm like everybody else. I come from a poor Pennsylvania family. We call it Pennsyltucky, central Pennsylvania. I fought to get out of there, joined the army just to run away, basically. Joined the army, realized what I was made out of, what kind of a man I was beginning to become, and got out after 7 years being stationed in Germany and one tour in Iraq, stayed in Germany, opened up a cocktail bar, then another, then a nightclub, insurance company, construction company. Did all right, did pretty good, wrote a book, got my MBA in the UK, ran a corporation, just did all kinds of crazy shit that I had no business doing. Mick Jagger's bodyguard, worked for Olivia Newton-John, worked for Andrea Bocelli. And these were all just things that I wanted to do. It wasn't like, this is my career, I'm moving this direction. It was like, oh, wow, look, I can be Mick Jagger's bodyguard. Let me do that for a while. Let me do this. Let me do that. So I'm sort of eclectic in what I do. But one thing always stood clear to me, even though it was subconscious in the beginning, and now it's conscious, is it doesn't matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter what job you have, where you live, what you do, what language you speak, what culture you're from, how old you are, how big or small, or what color, gender, it doesn't matter. One thing matters, and that's relationships. And relationships are what I build my entire life upon. Whether it's my personal relationship with my wife, whether it's a relationship with business partners, whether it's a relationship with pending or future business partners, my dog, we don't have a dog, but if I had a dog, a cat, whatever it is, it's about relationships. How do you treat the people around you and how do they treat you back? I'm a firm believer that everything you see in the outside world is inside of you. So if you see something bad, that's because it's inside of you. And I always say, if it's out there, it's in here, right? So I ensure that I'm looking for the good, the positive, the productive. That's what I look for every day. That's what I seek every day. I fill the gaps in with the good things that I can help with. And I've turned that into a very, very successful business, connecting people, building relationships with these people, nurturing these relationships, and leveraging them mutually so everybody could earn a shit ton of money.
Okay, so let's go back because we've had many conversations. Once you got out of the military, there was times when you were at the point of suicide. You were sleeping on people's couches. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows when you got out of the military. And I think a lot of veterans struggle with that when they get out because they think the world's going to open up to them and everybody's going to have a job for them. A lot of people struggle when they get out. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, when I first got, I was basically out of Iraq, went back to Germany. They closed the post down within a month. I went to another post. I was in another world. And 6 months later, I got out of the Army. I stayed in Germany. So I had zero transition. Like I was just I was out of Iraq, then I was out of the Army 6 months later, 7 months later or something like that. And man, I was a mean person. I'll tell you, I didn't know what to think. And I just knew that so the first job I got was standing at a door of a club. I'm standing there one day and I have all my life behind me and I'm good to go. And I'm standing there and pretty proud of what I'm doing, that kind of stuff. And this kid wants to come into the club. And I said, look, man, you can't get in. You got to be 18 to get in. And he said, get a real job, old man. And it shocked me because I was like, what the I just fought in a war. I'm sitting here, you know what I mean? Like you're saying all this stuff. Because when you're in the military, right, it's real clear. I'm wearing my awards. I got my name. I got my combat patch. I got my, at least in the Army, they have my unit patch. You can tell without saying a word where I'm from, what I do, what I've done. Service stripes, combat stripes, all work. I get out. I'm nobody. There's a kid in front of me telling me I'm a piece of garbage. And it was really hard for me to deal with. That's where my identity crisis came in. After that, I really struggled. It just kept going downhill from there until the point where I just fought every day. I literally fought people every single day on that door. It got so bad that there was people sending big guys to the door to fight me because I became like in Berlin, Germany. This is where it was. They became like, there's this tough guy. He's a veteran or whatever. And they would come to fight me. And sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. But I fought probably easily over 100 fights in that first year after I got out of the military in Germany, where it became a big problem for me until one day I saw a video of myself on the security footage fighting two guys, and there was 3 guys on my back trying to stop me, and I didn't even realize it. I just kept moving as if they weren't even there, and I realized I had a problem. That's where it really fell apart, and I had basically a nervous breakdown, I guess you could call it, where I lost probably 2 weeks of my life to I don't know where or what, or I woke up naked in a park, right, in Germany, in Berlin. And I woke up, I'm like, where am I? What's up? What's going on? It was crazy. And then I picked myself up and worked through it and just, kept building and building and building until I opened my bar. And, 2 years after I got out, I opened my first bar. And everything was going well. I shot to the top, took on a position, wrote a book, bestseller, did TV, MTV VJ, did newscaster. I speak perfect German and the whole works. Like it exploded. And then everything crashed in 2008. Everything. And I was in a toxic relationship. I was homeless after the crash. And driving down the road one day with my ex, with the crazy one. And she would always insult me. And of course, when you're getting insulted, you're trying to fix it, right? Because I'm a fixer. Men try to fix shit. So if there's a woman insulting you all the time, you're saying, why is she insulting me? I need to be better. I need to do better. I need to make it better for her. I need to make her understand. And so I stayed in that relationship, very stupid of me. And we're driving down the road, and she starts harping on me, and I said, I can't deal with this. Get out. So she got out of the car. I hit the gas and took off really fast, right into a speed trap from the German police. And it was probably literally like 100 meters or 200 meters down the road. So they stopped me, pulled me out. I'm this big, like muscular, like I was, and I'm crying. I got snot coming out of my nose. I'm just like losing my mind. And they're shocked, like, what's going on? And then she comes walking up because it was only a couple 100 meters away. And she goes, he's a war criminal. He murdered people. Arrest him. I was like, what? It just blew my mind. And I looked down beside me. There was 2 police officers on my left, a couple of them on my right. There was a couple of them over there around her. And there was a trainee beside me. I guess she was like a young girl, and she was in uniform standing there beside me. And I just looked down at her weapon and I was like, huh, I can grab that. So I unsnapped her holster and grabbed her weapon and stuck it to my head. And everybody froze except for her, this little girl. She was standing beside me, and she pivoted in front of me, put her hand on mine, and put the weapon back in her holster and said, "Stephen, I know you. This isn't you." And that was like a billy club to the head, because I was like, wait, what? Who? So they put me in the paddy wagon. Contrary to popular belief, German police are very social. 98% of them have never even drawn their weapon in 35 years of service.
Yeah.
And they tackled her and took her around the corner of the paddy wagon so that she would stay out of sight. And they let me go home. I didn't have a home, but I went back to my apartment that I was renting out to a friend because I didn't have the money to pay it. So I had my stuff. My stuff was still in the closet. So I went to the house and I said, "Look, man," they took my car, my license, and everything. And I said, "Dude, I just need some time here alone." He's like, "Oh, man, all right, whatever. I'll give you 2 hours." So I go in there. I go to my closet. I pull out the K-bar, which is a Marine knife, bayonet knife. It's not really a bayonet, but it's a knife, combat knife. I pull out my uniform. I hang the uniform up on the wall or on the door. Take a picture of myself, put it underneath the uniform, take the K-bar. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's all I ever was. That's all I ever was my whole life. I'm 30 years old or 32. I don't remember how I was. No, I was actually 31. I was 41. Okay, yeah. And I was like, that's all I ever was, man. I was a soldier. That's the only thing that ever meant anything to me. Nothing else in this, all the success and all the business and money, and it didn't mean anything to me. And that meant something to me. And so I guess I'm nothing since I'm not a soldier anymore. So I took the K-bar, put it to my neck, and I was ready to slice. And as soon as I put it to my neck, there was a knock on the door. I was like, gee, I can't even kill myself. Like, what a loser. You know what I mean? So I go to the door and I have this knife in my hand. I'm like, open the door. I'm like, what? And it was that female police officer again. She came in again, lowered my hand, put the knife on the counter or on the thing in the hallway, led me into my own living room, sat me down and said, "Look, I've read your book. I know who you are. This is not you. You don't need to do this. You're an amazing man. You're going to change the world." And I'm like, what the, who is this? And then she got up and did the German kiss and walked out, closed the door behind her. And I was like, did that just happen? And I was going to go out and look in the hallway, see if she was there, but I didn't, because I wanted to believe that it happened. I don't know if it did or not. I think it did. But it was divine intervention. It was an angel. I don't know what it was. So I knew I wasn't safe still. So I called my buddy Michael from Austria and I said, "Look, you're my best friend. If you don't come get me, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I just know I won't make it." And so he sent plane tickets immediately. I went to the airport, got in a plane. He picked me up in Vienna and drove me to Linz, near Linz, Austria, and dumped me into a monastery, a Benedictine monastery, where I stayed for a long time to get back to who I was. So that was a long story short, but that was the one time that I actually followed through with it. I thought about suicide all the time. I still do. It never goes away. Once you pop that balloon, it's always there. I just know that I won't follow through with it. Back in the day, though, I was ready to go. And, it forged me. It really did. So when I've probably helped 800, 900, probably 1,000 veterans who were thinking that way. Through all the years, they call me. They seem to reach out. I seem to attract people who are in need, and I help them gladly. There's some things that I can work through with people that I guess only people who've been to that place can work through. So it's a part of my life. I have moments in my life. September 22, my wife of 13 years left me overnight and shocked me. I have 2 kids in Hungary with her. Shocked me. I was at that point again. Everything that I worked on from 2008 to 2022, I thought I'm straight. Like, I'm good. I'm squared away. And man, in 1 second, it came back in full force as if it was never gone. And so it's an ongoing process, Richard. So anyone out there suffering or worried or thinking about it, it'll never leave us. We just don't let it control us. That's the way I sort of look at it.
And I love it. And actually, I just talked about you last week because one of my friends I interviewed, Joshua Danson,
Yeah.
you're helping him.
Yeah.
And who knew that we would be talking about the same person, and you're still helping people how many years later? And
Yeah.
he just said that when he met you or when he seen you, there was something about you that drew him to him. And it's amazing how even if I walk into a room, if you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself is the way you're going to attract
Yeah.
people to you. If
It's
you
called
walk
presence.
into a room and you're hunched over and you look like shit, you're probably not going to attract the greatest kind of people in this world.
Well,
So
it's presence.
Joshua said that was the first thing he said. As soon as he seen you, you didn't say a word to him. You guys connected like this.
Well, it's presence, isn't it? Presence comes from being present. So, when you're present in the moment, you have presence. People can try to act like they're present and this kind of stuff and look at me and it's not, it's all about energy, man. It's all about frequency. And when I go anywhere, especially in the public eye, I was at a speaking event in Florida when I met Josh. I was on stage right after Tucker Carlson, and it was a big deal for me. 2,500 people there, all business owners. And Josh came up to me afterwards with tears in his eyes and gave me a big hug. And this is a big guy. He's bigger than me. I'm 6'4", right? This is a big guy. And he had tears in his eyes and came and hugged me. And he said, man, I understand you. You understand me, kind of thing. And we hit it off, and now we work together and we do things together. And it's that, look, presence comes from being certain of your abilities to deploy your genius in any given situation. So I know no matter what happens, Richard, whether the SWAT team busts in the door right now, there's a hurricane or a freaking tornado or the power goes out, I'm not worried about it because I know I can deal with it. I know I can deploy my genius, my talents in any given situation. That certainty allows me to know that I can do anything, anywhere, anyhow, anyway. That gives me the ability to be present because I don't have to worry about what people are thinking, who's going to say what's over there, who's that. No, I'm here right now with you. I show up wholly and fully for you, who's in front of me, with no preconceived notions or cookie cutter solutions, focusing on the only thing that I can control, and that is the intention of adding value by solving problems. That's what I do. That's how you create presence. And when you show up like that, brother, I'm telling you, you turn heads every single time.
Okay, so let's talk about something. When your wife left you, you didn't go on social media crying, complaining, whimpering. But then when you showed up and you have a beautiful woman on your side, a lot of people started talking shit.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how somebody, when you're struggling, they don't say shit, but when you come out of that hole, a lot of people start talking shit.
Yeah, it's called being bold and not giving a shit, right? I don't care anymore what people think. I used to. I care how I come across, and that's my intention is all about adding value, solving problems. As I said, doing it with love, care, and compassion. But I won't take any shit either. Anyone who has a problem with the way I live and the woman that I show the world to. I mean, I was on stage, in that 2,500 people, and I told them my life has changed completely, and I've become much more successful because I have her on my side.
Yep.
There she is, right there in the audience. They put the camera on her. I have no problem with that at all because I'm here to tell you, the yin and the yang. Everybody talks about yin and yang and all this kind of shit and balance and yin and yang is simple, masculine, feminine. Everybody has masculine, everybody has feminine in them. Plants have it, dogs have it, we have it. Right? I mean, animals have it. You have the masculine and feminine energies. And if they're out of balance, out of whack, you're going to be hyper masculine, hyper feminine. You have men that are super feminine. You have women who are super masculine. That's because there's no yin and yang. There's no balance there. Well, I found my balance, didn't I? And I'll be damned if I'm not going to tell the world about it.
And I love that. And that's one thing. We've been friends, I think, now almost 8 years. And
Yep.
By the way, guys, if you don't know the Vetpreneur tribe, you need to know the Vetpreneur tribe. If you're a veteran and you want to be an entrepreneur, definitely join the Vetpreneur tribe and also join the Warrior Council. As you can see up above, we are the official podcast of the Warrior Council. So if you want to be a veteran and an entrepreneur, you need to join the Vetpreneur tribe. But something about you that I loved is even 8 years ago, when you were doing your live videos every day, your kids would just come and hop in your lap. They would come on camera and you were just showing, hey, I'm not only a business owner, but I'm a husband and I'm a father. And I think a lot of people, they're just thinking business. But if you're not relatable then people are not going to want to be around you or work with you, right?
Dude, it's authenticity. Just be who you are. I love my kids. I love having my kids. They come to me. They want to be on camera. Let them be on camera. It's like I'm not trying to control them or make an image. Look, I love my kids, and I'll let them. When I have meetings and they come over, if it's an important meeting, maybe not. But otherwise, they come over. Hey, hi, done. Unfortunately, I'm not with them all the time now because they live in Hungary. I live in Turkey. It's really tough, but we found a way to see each other every day on FaceTime. So that's a good thing. But it's all about authenticity, man. I don't, if you don't like it, then you don't have to watch. Simple as that. Look, man, if you don't live for yourself, who the hell are you living for? Right? If you're not out to make yourself more successful, no one else is going to do it either. And they won't do it anyway. Right? So I did 850 live videos, Richard.
I know. I pretty much watched all of them.
Yeah, exactly. 850 of them. Called the Daily Purge. Basically, I took my day and I just purged what I went through that day, what I learned, what happened with clients, what happened in my life, and I just purged the lessons that I had. And people say, "Oh, why are you doing that?" Honestly, I was doing it for me the whole time. It's like accountability, right? I want to review my day, right? See what went good, see what went wrong, and see what I can do the next day. And it also keeps your knife sharp. People ask me now, "Why are you still a business coach? Why do you still coach people?" I have like 6 to 8 clients at any time. And I said, I stopped for 6 or 8 months. And I realized I wasn't as sharp at making the big deals that I make as when I'm doing coaching and making the big deals. So I'm back to coaching again, and my deals are taking off again. So it's like you always have to be sharpening that blade. And that sharpening that blade also has to do with, like you, when you started with your podcast, you're different than you are now, right? Yep. You're more free flowing. You're not worried about all this aesthetics and all that. You just do it. Background's good. It's not good. Whatever. We're just doing this. Right? Yeah. It's about the content. It's about the deliverables. It's about the results that I can get. That's what matters. And I could give a flying frogs, you know what I mean? Like you say in the Army, flying frogs fat ass, about what anybody thinks about what I do or don't do or how good I am or not good or whatever. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me and my family. I want to be successful with my wife, with my kids, for my wife, for my family, for the future. Right? That's what matters. And you know what? When you do it with good intentions, when you do it with love and care like I do and a higher frequency, you automatically create that radiant value that goes around you, and it includes everyone in your life. That's the beauty of it. So that way I don't have to try, oh, look at this guy, look at this girl. I just do it in the right way so that everyone's included anyway.
All right, so let's talk about some of the things that I've learned from you. And then, I'll just name them and then we'll talk about them. When you and Lane wrote that amazing book, Humble Alpha, I was the first one to buy it. And I only had to get to the first page to realize, Rich, something's fucked up. You're not really you. You're trying to be somebody else. And just the first page of the book is when I realized, all right, I got to start being me. I can't be Gary V. I can't be this person, and I can't be that person. So I want to talk about the book. But I also want to talk about some things you've told me at McDC's. One was, if you don't have a business plan, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And that's something that I've mentioned thousands of times on this show that I took away from our talk. And then second of all, there's a lot of people that are still in the tribe that have done 15 or 18 different things and they're not successful at all. Because like you told me, focus, follow one course until successful. And because you told me nobody knows who the fuck you are. You're the podcast guy, you're the supplement guy, but nobody knows exactly what you do. Right?
I love you, brother. You know that.
And at that moment in DC, when we hugged it out, that when I went home, my whole business changed because of some of that advice. But I had to be humble enough to say, okay, you're right. I'm wrong. Show me what to do and I'll do it. So let's talk about some of those things.
Well, I get that comment a lot. I'm a in the moment guy. I'm really good at solving problems in the moment they happen. I'm really good at seeing things the moment they happen. I'm really good at reacting to people's problems in the moment they happen. So that's when we met. We were standing, I think, and we were just. It was like it's a real quick discussion, and it may came across as crass, but as a veteran, I know you know how to deal with that. So I wasn't, tiptoeing through the tulips or anything. And it turns out that if I look at my list of clients, people like you that I've worked with, or know and worked with at least for a couple seconds, it's always that direct line of communication, like I did with you, that had the most impact, that have led to the longest friendships and business partnerships. So it sort of, I beg to differ that being nice all the time, or delivering in an articulate manner, which I can absolutely do. I work in politics and everything, so I can articulate very well. That doesn't mean anything to somebody. It sounds more like I'm trying to school you. I wasn't trying to school you. I don't think you felt that. I was trying to help you, man. And the only way I know how to help is when I get frustrated, like, dude, I'm tired of talking, man. This is what's wrong. Fix it. You know what I mean? Like, that's sort of how I think. And Josh, he's lived through that as well. The guy you just talked about, who you interviewed last week, he's lived through that as well. I'm like, he's talking to me. I'm like falling asleep. I'm like, dude, that's boring. No one gives a shit. What are you about, man? Who are you really? Tell me. His partner, David, we had him in tears, man. And I'm not proud of that, but sometimes you have to drive the nail so far in until they let go of all of the things that they think they have to say, think, be, do, wear, whatever, until they actually find that core of who they really are. And once you find out who you really are, I know it sounds esoteric, but once you find out who you really are, you are the most powerful person you'll ever meet. And you know what? We are the ones who we've been waiting for our whole life, but we just never show up for ourselves. So many people, 99% of the planet never show up for themselves. You're the only person that can help you. You're the only person. Someone can help you 30%, 50%, 60%, maybe 80%, a couple people together. But in the end, that last 10, 20, 30%, it's you and only you, and that's it. And if you don't show up, you're never going to make it out there. So to all the veterans out there in the Vetpreneur tribe, I feel you. You got your disability and you're collecting that. It's like $4K a month if you got 100% or something like that. And you're like, well, I'm safe, so I don't have to go too far. Oh, it didn't work out. Let me try this. It isn't about a job or making money. It's about fulfillment. What are you doing in life to get up every day? I get up every day, Richard, every day. And after my morning wake up, which sometimes is like me wanting to stick a knife in my neck because it's just the way it is, I'm excited. I'm hungry. I have urgency every single day. Like, man, I need to do this shit. Like, this is awesome. Today's a day, man. It's happening today, whatever it is, right? It's happening today. And I do that for me and my family, not for anybody else, not because I think I have to, not because that's the right thing to do. That's what Goggins said, or one of the other, motivational guys, what they said, you have to do this, you have to do that, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you do 1,500 different rituals before you get up, before anyone else in the house, all this kind of shit. Do what's right for you, do it for you, and follow through and be resilient.
Okay, but now something, we have to be willing to pivot, and we have to be willing to take chances. Like, I've been in the tribe since Andrew O'Brien was in the tribe. Yep. You and Lane invested in the tribe, and then eventually Marshall, which I love, Marshall Terran, took over. So, even in the tribe, there's been changes, but I think you have to not be afraid to pivot and say, okay, it's time for me to move on. Even like in relationships, I have business partners that I'm no longer partners with. I'm still friends with. I still love them, but sometimes, even in relationships, sometimes you got to move the fuck on. And I think some people get so butthurt, they're afraid to move on. They're like, well, I failed, or I don't have that partner anymore, so I'm just going to shut it down. But you just kept on pivoting until you're doing what you're doing now, right?
Well, yeah, and I would call it layering, waterfall, cascade, whatever you want to call it, because a lot of times people are trying to do a business, and they're focusing, and they have their nose to the grindstone, which is what everybody says you're supposed to do. Hustle, grind, nose to the grindstone, all that bullshit. What are you looking at when you have your nose to the grindstone? You're looking at the freaking grindstone. What about the opportunities, the luck, the coincidence, the new connections, people walking by, people driving by? What about all that? You miss it. So when you hyper focus, like people say you have to do, that doesn't mean this, right? That means I'm doing one thing and I'm collecting all the possibilities on the outside that can help me or add to that one thing, right? That's the biggest mistake that I see with hustle and grind and all this bullshit, right? Hustle and grind was invented by somebody who wants to make you feel better about working way too much. That's my belief, right? Leverage is where it's at. You have a network where you've built relationships, because there's two different things. A network is not relationships, right? Yeah. Once you have a network and you have relationships on there, you leverage that network and the relationships in that network to make a shit ton of money. And I've been doing it now for years. And I'm talking a shit ton. I'm talking like crazy money. And it's very little hands-on job-like work. It's all relationship building and nurturing that relationship. So I believe that my whole life, I mean, I still have contacts with the people that I started when I was in the bar. And so it's the relationships stay, build, change, or whatever. The jobs will change, but that red line or the foundation along the bottom always stays. We call it your operating system, right? Once you know who you are, what you're about, what your superpower is, you have an operating system. You can always fall back on that, and that won't change. You'll have updates and antivirus and all that kind of shit, like you do on your laptop, your operating system. But everything above it can change. Your job can change, everything else, but that operating system stays the same. So through my life, I've always treated people very good. I've always added value. I've always solved problems. I've always been the one looking out for the small, the little guy, the hurt guy, the bad, the person who's not doing well. And so that's never changed. And that's why some people think, okay, he's doing all these different things, but I'm actually not. It's all about people. Because there's not one thing on the planet that you can do when it comes to business or making money and stuff like that, where there's no people involved, unless you're doing like crypto or some shit. Even then there's people involved, right? So it's all about relationships. And in relationships, integrity is sacred. And integrity is where it's all at. If you have no integrity, you have nothing. Nada. There's always crooks out there, and there's people out there who do shoddy deals and stuff. You do one shoddy deal, you know it. Maybe no one else knows it. But if you know it, they feel it, you're done.
Yep. Now on this show, we've had over 1,300 episodes. I'm friends with every single guest I've ever had on. Like, yeah. I know that if I go into my phone, if I have a question, I can, all right, here's Kuhn. Let me talk to Kuhn. Or David Meltzer, I have a question. Steve Sims, I have a question. Robert Kiyosaki, I have a question. But it's because I fostered those relationships and built the relationships over this last 6 years or whatever. But something about, I want to talk about your book for a minute, because I love your book. And it taught me a lesson, was how, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget, having, say if the kids are out of the house tonight and I go buy my wife chocolates and I go buy her flowers and I take her out to dinner, but we get home and she goes to bed and I get pissed off. Well, wait, hold on. I had expectations. Yeah. She didn't know about my expectations. So how can I get pissed off for expecting something that she was never even expecting? And that was something I learned from your book. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but it actually worked, because sometimes when if I get aggravated, with me and my wife, whatever it is, and I'll be like, why am I getting mad if I'm expecting something that she doesn't even know I was expecting? So talk about the biggest letdown in relationships is expectations.
Yeah, well, there's two ways to look at expectations. You either verbalize an expectation and you agree upon it with the other party, or you don't have them. Or you don't have expectations. And just like you said, I come home with flowers. I'm like, yeah, tonight's the night, man. You know what I'm saying? Here's some flowers, baby. And she's like, oh shit, what did he do? Right? Why is he giving me flowers? What's he trying to do? And then you're thinking like, yeah, baby. And she's like, oh no, hell no. What did he do? She doesn't talk to you about it. You don't talk to her about it. Next thing you know, you're in bed. She falls asleep. And you're like, God dang, what the hell? And that goes in, and that's just one crass example that I think everyone can understand. It goes both ways. And it's if I verbalize and agree upon my expectations, and that goes in business as well, then everyone knows the playing game, the playing ground. If I don't, I'm going to be disappointed, 100% guaranteed. So if you don't want to be disappointed, don't have any expectations. And it's a constant ongoing thing. It's like you said, every day in marriage, you have that. Every single day in marriage, something happens. You're like, oh shit, I never even told her. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. It stops a lot of arguments. There's so many things. It makes you happy, right? It makes you happy if you have no expectations. And I'm not saying go like blissfully in life and don't worry about anything. Just talk about it, verbalize it. And that goes in business as well. Because and I know business owners that have been burnt, right? Burnt, ripped off. He ripped me off. Did you ever talk about the expectations? How it was going to work? What was it? No. Well, then Maybe he didn't know he burnt you. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But if you don't have that in advance and you're not clear on everything, that's why I have an agreement. I have a one-page agreement that lists everything out that we talked about, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. If there's a refund, if there's not a refund, what happens then, what happens then, what happens then. We done, good, sign, done, finished. And it's simple that way. It makes life so simple. So when someone says, well, Steve, I can't afford the next month payment, this, whatever, the other, I'm like, look, we have an agreement. I understand where you're coming from. There's some tangibles, there's non-tangibles. Right now, we're talking about tangible. Tangibles get done. Non-tangibles take longer. So tangible now. Let's make it happen. You're right. Sorry. You know what I mean? It's like.
So I want to talk about it, especially in the tribe, because I made this big mistake when I first started, and you called me out on it in the public forum. I would share things. I would share other people's businesses, and then get pissed off if they wouldn't share mine, and until I realized I was doing it for the wrong reasons, and instead of just doing it because I cared about that person and I wanted them to succeed, I was just doing it just so my name would be seen. And then you call me out. You're like, don't be a dick. Don't get mad if somebody's not sharing your shit because you're sharing your shit. That's not the way it's supposed to be. It's not. It's relationships. It's not transactions.
Yeah, exactly.
So how important is that to build real relationships on and off line? Because I've met plenty. I've hung out with a lot of tribe members in person, not just online, but I go out of my way to meet people from the tribe. So how important it is to build relationships online and offline?
Well, you can build relationships as friendships. You can build relationships as, being a helper, philanthropic, whatever you want to do. But my question is, if you're adding value all the time, right? People are going to want to stay in contact with you because you're adding value, number one. Number two, if you're adding value, you're getting paid for it. Are you getting paid for it? Right? And most people don't get paid for it because they don't know how. And it's awkward and it's strange. I'm going to give you, everybody listening right now, if you take anything away from this podcast, this right here, this is gold. This is absolute gold. I'm talking to you right now, and we have a discussion. I'm listening to what you say, and I hear what you mean when you're talking, because sometimes, most of the time, it's between the words. You're not telling me your true problems. And if I find something or hear something, I'm going to dig into that. And once I find your issue, your problem, your challenge, I'm going to say, give me a couple of weeks. I'm going to go away. I'm going to find a solution for your challenge, your problem, your issue. I'm going to quantify that solution, come back to you and say, look, you talked about this. This is your challenge. This is a solution that I found for you. It's going to cost you this much, or it'll make you this much, or both. What do you think? And you'll be like, wow, okay, gee, that's awesome. And then you say, well, what do we do now? And I say, I'll send you an agreement, not a contract, just an agreement. And that agreement lists out, I'm bringing you this, you're doing that, you make this money, I make this money. This happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. I send it to you and you go, hell yeah, you sign it, we're done. So that's how you leverage your network. Now, someone's saying, oh, it's contractual. I do something out of the goodness of my heart. Well, then be broke out of the goodness of your heart. You know what I mean? People talk about, you don't have to earn money and everything. Of course not. You don't earn money and everything. But if I'm bringing you a contact that's going to make you $1 million, you're damn right I'm getting paid. You're damn right I'm getting paid. If you need a distributor for your business, for your products, if you need a manufacturer, if anything, and I get you one, you're damn right I'm making money on that. That's what it's all about. Leveraging your network so both parties win. Why should I keep introducing people and they all win? Like you said, you introduce people, you put them on the line, they make sales from your podcast, and then they'll give you shit, right? I'd be like, man, I need to have an agreement. So you put an agreement in place. I'm going to place your product on my podcast. If you get any sales for the next, 1 year through this link, an affiliate link or whatever, they click here, they order, you get paid, done. You know what I mean? And it adds up, man. I got deals with people. I make $500 a month. I make $8,000 a month. I make $12,000 a month from these shared revenues that I do. Like I'll do a deal, I'll get 3% of revenue for the next 5 years because I made an introduction. We sign it, we doing. I have the KPIs that I can follow. I see it happens. Money automatically comes in my account. I've been doing that for years. I started that, way back when. I taught it in the Vetpreneur tribe. Wasn't that good at it. Now I'm really good at it. We're doing deals. My wife and I signed a deal here for a solar farm. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I was here in Turkey. I'm like, how come there's hardly any solar farms here? And I said, do you know anybody in the Ministry of Energy? And she said, I don't know. Let me ask my partner. And so she asked her business partner. Next day, we were on the Zoom call with the Minister of Energy of Turkey. And I was like, why aren't there any solar farms here? He goes, we don't really know what we're doing. And I said, well, can I help you out? Can we build one? And he's like, yeah, sure. And make me an offer. So I went out to find a tech company to make an offer for Turkish solar farm. Every tech company was the same. We need the parameters, how many megawatts, we need the land, how much, what, and I said, they don't know. They need you to tell them. Well, we don't do that. I'm like, the hell is wrong with these people? Like, it was driving me crazy. I couldn't find a company that would make just an average offer, just an example of what it would look like, how much it would cost to build a solar farm of X, Y, and Z size. I couldn't find one. You believe that? Right? And the government said they would approve it. So I finally found a company. They made an offer. They approved it. We moved forward. And from the day that I had the idea of doing this to the day that they signed a power purchase agreement for $120 million was 6 months. From idea to that. And it all happened. I had a relationship with someone who owned a company who was merged into a larger company that does solar farms. My wife had a relationship with somebody who had a relationship with the ministry. You see what I'm saying? It was all relationships, man. All relationships. Had nothing to do with my knowledge. I'm a badass businessman. None of that shit. None of it. It only had to do with relationships. So if you're not building and nurturing and caring for your relationships, keeping them fresh, moving forward. I don't mean every single person. You can't do that. They don't have time for that shit either, right? Then you're missing out big time. And it starts with Richard says to Stephen, I need someone to paint my house. You know somebody? Yeah, let me find somebody. I find somebody. I get them to offer it. They tell me it's going to cost $500. So I say, all right, I want 10%. You know, from the painter. Painter gets you, paints your house, you pay him, he gives me $50. I don't care if it's $5 or $5 million. I'm getting a commission, period.
Okay, so but let's talk. There's a difference between relationship and mentorship. Like for me, I tell everybody, veterans are cheap as fuck. They won't think twice about spending $1,500 on a phone. But if you say, listen, John Lee Dumas is willing to mentor you for $1,000, would you do it? Oh, I can't do that. Like for me, you know, my new book, now it's out on Amazon, it's out on Walmart. It's the #1 bestseller in podcasting. And the whole back cover is written by Mr. John Lee Dumas. But I had to hire him as my coach to teach me how to become a top-rated podcaster. So I had to invest in mentorship. So how important is sometimes you have to hire a coach or a mentor to get you where you want to go?
So I'm going to say it crass like I always say it, right? If you think you can do it alone, you're an idiot. If you think that, look, the Olympics are on right now. Every single one of those world-class athletes has a coach. Every single one of them, right? You have Madonna, who's been singing for 100 years. She has a voice coach, right? If you think that you can break through your glass ceiling and your growth ceiling by yourself, good luck. I'm sorry. You know, it's not going to happen. You need coaches. You need education that turns into tangible and applied knowledge. You need that. A degree isn't going to give you shit. It'll give you a bunch of knowledge in your head, but until you apply that knowledge and make it yours so you can own it and teach it through implementation, it's not yours. It does nothing for you. So if you don't have a coach, if you don't have a mentor, don't wonder why you're not growing and scaling and succeeding, because you need it. It's just, it's simple as that. It doesn't matter. It could be your wife. It could be, you know, depending on what they do. If they're a coach, and use your wife. When my wife left me, my second wife left me back in 22, first thing I did was I hired coaches, 4 of them, different modalities, mindset, you know, depression, all this kind of stuff, you know. And I worked every day. I took like 6 months off and 4 months off. And I worked every single day, 5 or 6 hours on me with those coaches, and just spent basically all the money I had left on these coaches, because I knew the only way out was through my own power. It was the only way that I was going to get back on top. And I probably wouldn't be here without them. You know, mentorship is everything. Now people think, okay, man, but I can't afford a mentor. You can't afford not to have a mentor. You can't afford not to have a coach. You can't afford it. And even if, and here's the thing, I'm a coach, so I'm a business coach, right? And it goes a lot into mindset, frequency, all this kind of stuff. And people say, well, what can you guarantee? I said, I can guarantee I'll be with you until you're happy. How's that sound? Because so much of coaching, so much of mentorship is intangible. You won't even see the results of it until the coin drops in your head a month, 6 months, a year, 10 years later. It doesn't even matter. And you're like, holy shit, now I get it. I know exactly what he's talking about. That's why I had to do it this way. That's why this happened, right? So many people are like, it's tit for tat. I'm paying you, I want results the next day. It can happen with deals. I can do that, but I've done that with deals. Like Josh, he joined 25th of May, he owned 30% of a company. So, we acquired 30% of a company with no money down through his services. So marketing service, him and his partner, David, they have a marketing service. Yep. They went to a client, had me on the call. The client said, it's too expensive. I said, well, how much can you afford? He goes, half. I said, all right, you pay half, give us, 30% equity of your company. The equity is not worth anything until we start making at least $5,000 more than you're making right now for 3 months in a row. He said, okay, boom, 30% equity. Like that's instant, but that doesn't always happen, right? So the expectations have to be clear when you work with a mentor or coach. Don't expect it to be tit for tat. I will make you this much money in this much time, unless it's like tech or something. You set up an AI or whatever the hell all that stuff is. I work with people, about people, for people, making deals.
Okay, so let's talk about that because, I coach people now on getting their podcast ranked, profitable before it even goes out. But I tell everybody, I'm not the cheapest coach. I'm probably going to be one of the top coaches, paid coaches, because I've had conversations with Alex and Layla Hormozi, and they say, there's something to be said for why somebody is the highest paid coach and why somebody is the cheapest coach. There is no race to the bottom. So I think a lot of people get stuck with that. I don't deserve to get paid. Well, for me, I think I know I deserve to get paid. Not only have I put over 10,000 hours into doing this, spent over $100,000 on classes, courses, but I have the metrics to back up what I say. So how important it is, you can't just say, hey, I'm a life coach and you're 18 years old.
Well, no, it's experience, isn't it? Applied knowledge and experience. It's like I did a video yesterday on all these these fake military guys that are out there, coaches that are out there saying, you got to be tough, you got to kill, you got to get up early in the morning, you got to get all this shit. Like, what experience do you have to talk to me like that? Right? Now, David Goggins or Jocko, whatever, yeah, they're angry guys that fought, I was in battle, but I wasn't in battle like they were, even though Jocko was only in combat for like 8 minutes. But besides that, Goggins is someone to look at. I'm not a big fan of screaming and yelling like that. I'm really not. I'm a fan of directness. But here's the deal. I don't give a shit what other people pay or what they think I should pay or not, or be worth or not worth. I know my value. I know what I'm worth. I know what I'm willing to give my time for. That's my price, right? If you want to check my background, talk to any client I've ever worked with. I don't even care, right? You want testimonials? I don't do all that shit. I have a few, but I don't follow up with that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not trying to sell you, right? You either know through the frequency that we have and the certainty that I have in my voice. Look, Richard, what you just said, you said a lot of reasons why they should hire you, but I'm going to tell you why they should hire you, and I'll tell you exactly why they do hire you. It's your certainty. They buy your certainty in your course or your product or your coaching more than they buy the actual product or course or coaching.
Yeah.
So if I'm delivering to you, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, this is what's going to happen, da, 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 you're like, fuck, man. You don't even think about, is he qualified? Let me see his CV. You don't even think about that because you're like, damn, let's do this. That energy is like high. Like, this is the shit right here. And only someone who has actual experience can talk like that with that certainty. If you don't absolutely get sucked in to a conversation with a coach or a mentor, then just stay away from them because it's just this. Okay? And I'm not talking screaming in your face, telling you you're a piece of shit and you need to get up and, do 100 push-ups to become a man. I'm not talking like that bullshit, right? If you're not enthralled and pulled into this coach's energy or the mentor's energy, then just find another one. Try to find one. It's so important. Like, I love the first call that I have with somebody, right? So I had 3 of them today. It's so much fun because they're just like, damn, who are you? So I'm like delivering. I'm making introductions. I'm on the phone, like, hey, talk to this guy. And like on the first call, like, like that. Because I love what I do. And you know what, Richard? I'm 100% certain that I help my clients. I can help my clients in any given situation. So I don't worry about it. Maybe I don't have the solution, but I know somebody who has a solution, or I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. That's all that matters. I don't need to know everything, and I don't know everything, and I don't pretend that I do. I get excited about this shit, man. I get excited about this shit, man. I really do. I love what I do so much that when I stopped, I was like, God, I'm miserable. My wife even said, "Go back coaching, man. You're driving me crazy."
But but like even in the tribe, though, I tell everybody, when I first started my company, I didn't have the coffee, which is made by Third Day Coffee. I didn't have my T-shirts, which is made by Ginger and David. I didn't have my swag, but I also know that I can't compete on price as far as going with Black Rifle or any. So I provide more value than just a T-shirt or coffee. So talk about how you shouldn't compete on price, even if it is physical products, because a lot of people, they want to get involved in a mission. They want to get involved in something bigger than just a car, kind of like Subaru. Subaru is a car, but there's a mission behind it. So talk about how important it is for people to get behind you and your mission sometimes.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, like, for instance, what problem are you solving for that person? What problem are you solving for your demographic? Who is your demographic? What are they about? What do they look for? What do they need? What do they wish? What do they want? What are their aspirations? If you don't know that, you're just poking and hoping, right?
Yeah.
So what is it you're actually delivering for them? I always say, what do you do? What's in it for me, and how do I get it? Right? That's from Donald Miller. What do you do? What's in it for me, and how do I get it? I need to know that stuff. Or PPR, problem, product, resolution. What's the problem you solve? What's the product that solves it? What's the resolution of that? After I get the problem solved. If I don't know the answers to these questions, right, then no one's going to show up, right? So it's important that we understand our own business first. We understand our value. And honestly, I don't look at prices of other people. I don't even care about prices of other people. I will jump on introduction calls because I get written all the time in LinkedIn. Hey, you're a business owner. Why don't you come in? And, I'm a coach. I'll get on with them, and I end up either getting them as a client or I give them some tips and tricks or whatever, or they school me, one of the two, and I love it. I had a guy today from the Qatari family office who runs the entire family office of the Qataris, the nation of Qatar, the king or prince, wherever he is. And this guy schooled me on fuel deals like I've never been schooled in my life. And I told him, I said, man, how old are you? He said, I'm 35. I said, holy shit, I just learned a whole hell of a lot from you. I said, let's stay in touch. Let's keep talking. He goes, hell yeah, let's do it. I'm coming to Turkey. We'll meet. Like, I have no qualms about learning. I want to learn. I want to know more. I'm hungry, right? And so I don't look at what other people charge or what they should charge, or I'm at this level, or I've this. My certainty dictates your will to work with me, period. And if you're certain, you're going to pay what it takes. And if you can't pay what it takes, we find a way. Sometimes it's percentages of deals. Sometimes it's money up front. Sometimes it's a payment plan. It doesn't matter. For me, winners find a way. I always say that. Winners find a way. You want to work with me? We want to work together? We will both find a way. It's up to you to start, and we'll come together. Always. Oh, there's always a way.
But, the first 2 weeks that I started working with John Lee, and guys, if you don't know John Lee Dumas, you need to check out his podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. Gets over 1 million downloads. He's making over $250K a month from his show. But something we worked for the first 2 weeks was finding my perfect avatar.
Yep.
Because he said you need to go an inch wide but a mile deep on finding out who your perfect avatar is.
Yep.
And for any time I hire somebody, that's the first thing I work on is who's listening to your show, who's buying your products. Because if you don't know that, I think Jim Rohn might have said it, that if you're advertising to everybody, you're advertising to nobody. So how important it is to find your perfect avatar.
It's everything, man. It's everything. It's it's like if I show up, I don't know who you are, what you're about. You don't ask me any questions. How am I going to even answer anything? How am I even going to talk to you? It's ridiculous not to think of that. But and again, the issue is that most people, they don't know, and they don't even think about it. They think I have a T-shirt company, or I have a company that makes tools or whatever. I'm going to start selling them. To who? To men. Why? What age? What profession? Are they academics? Are they blue collar? Are they white collar? Where are they from? How old are they? Like that kind of stuff. Like you need to know who that is so you can, because here's the thing. If you're selling anything, you need to speak to them in their language and solve a problem that you already know that they have and that they know that they have. Because the worst thing you can do, one of the worst things you can do, is try to educate somebody on the problem that they don't even know that they have. Because they're going to be like, who's this dork trying to tell me what's wrong with me? It's going to total resistance. When it comes to John Lee Dumas, I was on his podcast. Most profitable podcast. I've been on over 200 podcasts. And I wrote him, I said, hey, John, you're armor, I'm armor. I'd like to get in your podcast. He said, there's a fee of $5,000 to be on the podcast. I said, we're both armor guys. We're both served in Iraq. We're both tankers. Come on, man. Let's do me a favor. And he did. So I went on for free. Yeah. And he has a model where it's no video, just audio. At least it was. And just audio, no video. And the questions are pre-framed. So I already knew what he was going to ask me. So I got a speech writer, Geeta Nadkarni from Canada, amazing woman, who was my coach at the time, by the way. And I said, can you answer these questions in a way that actually turned it into a value proposition? And she did. I went on the podcast, I answered the questions, and within a couple of days, I made $65,000 just from one podcast because of the platform that he has, because of the segment that he has of entrepreneurs, business owners that want to grow and scale. That's what I do. Perfect segment, perfect person. Now, that was the only podcast where I ever made that much money. And that was just from people writing me, because at the end, how can they get a hold of you, Stephen Kuhn? They all wrote me, and I had instantly, like the one woman, the very next day transferred $16,000 just like that. Didn't even think about it. So that's how important segmentation is. That's how important knowing your avatar is. That's how important knowing your demographics. That's why it's important.
But the only way me and him got connected, and he came on my show and didn't charge me shit. But the only reason we connected because we're both tankers. We're both dumbass tankers. So I was able to say, John, I would love to have you come on the show to promote your podcast and your new book. There it is, adding value before I ask. But also I said, I don't want to just talk about entrepreneurship. I want to talk about the time you lost a tank crew and you almost took your own life. That's what I want to talk about. So for me, I think when people approach people like you, like people like Meltzer, people like Kiyosaki, Lecter, they're approaching just to have them on their show instead of saying, I want to provide value to you first. Would you come on my show? So how important is it to go reaching out to people like yourself, people out like Meltzer, like Steven Sims, and say, listen, I want to provide value to you. How important is that?
It's everything. Value exchange, man. It's fair exchange, value exchange, law of fair exchange, whatever you want to call it. I live by that rule. I don't care if it's a cashier at the grocery store. If fair exchange, I want to add value. It's everything. And also it shows the will, because most people are selfish, man. They just want something for themselves, and they'll be nice to you until they get it, and then you never even hear them again. And that happens in podcasts as well. Like I get asked to be on podcasts all the time, and then they disappear. It's like, what was I on your podcast? I don't even know who you are. I can't remember your name. And then they write 4 years later, hey, do you mind sharing your episode? I'm doing a review. I'm like, dude, you haven't talked to you in 4 years. I don't even remember who you are. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you want me to share your podcast into my network? Come on. And so that, again, we're back to relationships, aren't we? Right? Back to relationships. It doesn't mean you got to hang on them all the time. It means when you think of them, write something. When you see them online, like a post, comment, whatever. Just it doesn't mean you have to like set a schedule and write or all this kind of shit. It's really about caring for the person in front of you. If you truly care for the world around you, it shows. People show up, and you get treated well, and you get remembered.
But even like Russell Brunson, when he wrote in the trilogy series, that once you make a friend with somebody, you pretty much can get into their whole circle of influence as long as you treat that person with respect and the honor. Like I had Sharon Lechtner on, and then Kiyosaki, and then her writing partner, Greg Reed, and then David Meltzer. But it all became because of the one person that I had on the show. So how important is it to, make friends with some of these people or in their circle, but also know, listen, if Sharon Lecter says Rich is a great person, then if I reach out to Robert and say, hey, Robert, I just had Sharon on. I would love to have you come on. We talk so glowingly about you. And I love all your purple books. How are they going to say no when you've already had their friends on the show? So how important is that not only get into people's ecosystems?
That's force multiplication right there, brother. That's what the special forces say. Use the network, right? Or leverage the network. Important. What does important mean? It depends what you're doing. For me, it's everything. I know that if I'm talking to, I was in Dubai and I met this guy on a plane on the way to Dubai. He was in a tracksuit, right, with a hoodie and stuff, with these two older people. And I wanted to get bumped up to business class. I wanted to pay for business class because it was full. I was asked if there's any seats left, and they said, "Oh, this gentleman just took the last seat." And I looked at him. It was this guy in a hoodie. I was like, "Dude, you just took my seat, man. What's up with that?" Like, joking around. Get on the plane. I'm in the first row of economy. He's in the business. He comes back. We start chatting. It turns out he's some sheik's son, the head son of the sheik's family. So he said, "Come to my house tomorrow, 4:30." We show up at his house, compound. They had like a full beef cattle farm. They had a horse breeding farm. They had a lobster farm, fish farm. Like, it was crazy. It was like this huge complex. And he brought us into this room, which is typical. They have an extra house for meeting. And it was like this huge room, like half of, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, huge. And there were sofas around the outsides. And there was probably 30 feet in between both sides of the room. And you're sitting around with all these men. And my wife, Olga, was there, just talking. It was like the Major General from the Air Force, Chief of Police, a couple billionaires were in there, all these people. And I was like, Jesus, all this came from one guy that I cracked a joke with at the counter trying to get business class. And we made friends, and now we're doing fuel deals with an Emirati oil and gas company, third generation, that I met there. We're actually friends now. He told me a story. Check this out. You're going to like this. So he told me a story. He said, we met this guy named Steve, and he's a veteran. I'm like, "Are you talking about me?" He goes, no, another Steve who's a veteran. And he came over to Dubai, and we wanted to do some fuel deals. So he just basically did administration and organization for us. And we traveled around. We went to 6 countries and made a bunch of money. And we made him so much money. He went back, bought an apartment for himself, his mom, his dad, his sister, and stuff like that. Bought a new, I don't know, Corvette or whatever it is, and stuff like that. And it was funny because Stephen, veteran from Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia, which is where I'm from as well. And it's just funny, these guys. And I said, well, why would you help be veteran? We love veterans. Veterans, they have an integrity that can't be touched because they've lived a life faced death, and survived. I was like, wow. And this is an Emirati, that's saying this. This isn't like some Western person. This is, they're wearing the whole, which looks really elegant. And I said, well, don't you work with more? Don't you have other expats here in Dubai? And he goes, because only 13%, I think it is, of all of Dubai are Emirati. The rest are expats. Yep. And he said, we don't ever meet them because we don't go where they go. So it's an honor to have you with us here. Dude, all of that because I was nice to a guy at the counter. You see what I'm saying? That's force multiplication right there. And that's a perfect example of why you should treat everybody you meet well. Everybody. Unless they're doing something to you, then you knock them out. No. But yeah. Right? So everybody you meet, treat them well, treat them with respect, treat them at a level that you would treat anybody else. There's no one here, and here. Everybody's right here.
Yeah, and I'm actually writing an article tomorrow on about imposter syndrome. I'm going to be writing an article on LinkedIn. But it used to be at one point where I would think, I'm a 9th grade dropout. I don't have a GED. There's no reason that in October I should be at a Richard Branson event speaking. But the only reason I'm going to is because out of the 5 people that are speaking, 4 of them been on my show. So if it wasn't for the relationships that I've built, I wouldn't be able to do things like that. And I really believe in the power of the 5. I really believe that in business or relationship, if I'm hanging out with 5 guys at the bar that are going to the bar and getting divorced, I'm probably going to be number 6.
Yeah.
But if I'm hanging out with 5 successful guys that are trying to get better as husbands, fathers, and business owners, I'm probably going to be the 6th. So talk about the power of your association.
Dude, it doesn't even have to be 5. I was, I hate talking about this all the time, but before my second wife left me, she met this woman at a party who was with her husband, and she started talking about how they're getting a divorce. And so they became friends, and they started hanging out. And every time my wife would come home, she'd be talking about how this woman is, oh, look, she feels like she's free now, and she's doing this, and that, and the other. And they finally got divorced. He moved out, all this kind of stuff. I said, you better watch out. You'll be the next one, because the way you're talking, you're excited about it. Oh, no. And 2 months later, man, she came home, said it's over. And everything she said about why it's over was basically, I didn't live my life. I need to see new, all that kind of stuff. Exactly what happened. She was hanging out with a woman who felt free, or at least had to say that she felt free and felt better now that she's divorced and living her life the way she always wanted to, and and that's sort of what happened. I'm not saying I wasn't at fault, that I was perfect. I definitely wasn't, and I'm not. I still have my issues with PTSD, believe me. But that's why they say proximity is everything, right? So if I don't hang out with people at all. Like, I'll go to meetings and I'll talk to people and stuff, but I don't like go to the bar and hang out. And I hang out with my wife. I hang out with business partners. I don't even hang out. I just go and meet business partners. I don't remember the last time I sat in a bar or a club or whatever and did anything. I can't remember the last time I did that. I will sit with my wife. I will talk about how beautiful she is, how amazing she is, how she changed my life, and how she will talk about me. We'll talk to the kids. We keep it real, right? If I'm meeting somebody and I see within 5 minutes or 5 seconds, typically, if they're going to be at my level or higher, I'll stick around. If they're at my level or lower and they're trying to pull me down, I will either elevate them, try to give them a chance to be elevated. And if they don't, I'm gone. And I will get up. Okay, got to go. See you later. I just don't play. Look, again, Richard, I can't be hardcore enough about it. If you don't help yourself, no one else will, and they won't anyway, right? You're the only person that can help you to the end game. You're the only person. There is nobody else. A coach can help you, get you there 80%, 90%, give you the tools you need to get to where you go, right? You can say, show me how good I can be. This is how good you can be. Now go do it. You still got to do it. I can teach you everything that I know. But if you don't do it, you're not going to get there, right? So it's all down to you. So if you're not making these decisions where you're like, these guys are assholes, man. They're talking shit. I don't want to talk to these guys. What they're talking about has no meaning to me at all. It's degrading. It's down low. It's depressing. But they're buddies. I served with them. You know how it is when you sit with veterans. Next thing you know, you're talking about, man, when I was in war, oh, man, you remember so-and-so? Oh, he got killed. Oh, you remember? Oh, man. Oh, that's so. Oh. Next thing you know, you're all drunk and you're all sad and everything. Who the hell needs that? We have to make conscious effort, conscious decisions every single day to make our lives better. It's got to be conscious. You can't ride on somebody else's laurels. You can't ride on somebody else's success. It's got to be yours.
And, and I love that. And that's something I'd tell everybody, that nobody's coming to save you. Nope. There's nobody coming to save you. And that's why I love, and then we'll wrap up in a minute, but I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. I'm a big Mamba mentality fan. And his 2 favorite quotes that I love the most is, number 1, I stay in my lane, but I dominate that motherfucker. And 2 is, he talks, said, there's no I in team, but there's a me. So sometimes you have to dominate, and you got to have the Mamba mentality to say, I don't care what everybody else is doing. I got to do this for my wife, my kids, and myself. So I love that you talk about that.
It's so, my wife is hardcore like that. She's Olga. She's from Ukraine. And she's no joke, man. She'll tear you up and spit you out in 2 seconds. She's a badass, absolutely feminine and beautiful, but a total badass. And she's like that. She's like, look, they're not serving us at all. Why are we even talking to them? Like, I don't mean serving, but they're not serving us a purpose. They're not serving a mutual growth. Nothing, right? Gone, man, gone. And yes, you're right. It's like, maybe I should, man, he's a nice guy and all this kind of stuff. You don't have to be mean to him. You just say, well, I'm out of here, man. We'll see you later, whatever. You don't have to be mean to somebody. It's just that you have to protect who you are, build who you are, yourself, by yourself with help of coaches and mentors and friends and family, whoever. But in the end, it's all up to you, period. That last 10, 20, 30%, it's all you.
But now for yours to be successful the way you are and the way other high performers are, one of the favorite words that they use is no. Like
Yeah.
for me, if it's not God, family, friends, and business, I'm probably going to say no. I don't have the bandwidth for anything else in my life. So how important is it to say no to success?
99% of the time to success, you mean
To be
to
successful.
to be successful. Yeah. It's 99% of success. I'll say no to almost everything that I get. And again, receive, decide, let go. I'll receive what they're showing me. I'll decide what to do with it. I'll let it go. What doesn't serve me, and that's basically almost everything. And that doesn't matter what it is: $1 million deals, $100 million deals. If I'm sitting here and like I had a fuel deal that looked like it was going through, and the seller's mandate was just a total arrogant asshole, and he kept talking shit about my client. And I said, "You don't know my client. You don't know anything about him. You're saying he's a fraud. Like I know this guy. Like he's a friend of mine, and I've done deals with him before. So just quit saying that." "Well, you got to understand." I said, "You know what? You got to understand. We're done. I'm out of here. I'll go find another seller." No, sorry. Like, I don't need that shit at all. None of that shit. Anything that is at a lower frequency than what I'm operating at, it's gone. If it's at a higher frequency, I want a part of it. I want to get up there. I want to get to that frequency.
So now what's going on with Stephen Eugene Kuhn? I love your TikTok channel, by the way. I love your Instagram. So what do you got coming up now, and how do we get in Stephen Kuhn's ecosystem?
Yeah, just Instagram, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, TikTok, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, Facebook, Stephen Eugene Kuhn. It's always the same thing. I have a team that posts videos and I do content and things like that. But right now, we just formed the investment fund, the Heritage Wealth Fund, with another veteran and my wife, Anthony from Texas. He was in the Army as well. Great guy. We just met in Italy actually last week at a Andrea Bocelli concert where we had like Shania Twain was there. I met Kevin, the guy from King of Queens, whatever his name is. The guy who played in King of Queens, the comedian.
I think his name is Kevin Smith, maybe.
No, Kevin James.
Kevin James. Yeah.
Hung out with him, and it was like so much fun. And for me, it was like I had a blast because he was like he really is. Anyway, so we started Heritage Wealth Fund, which is a debt fund, and we invest in mergers and acquisitions. So we buy and sell companies, and we have real estate, and of course renewable energy, which we do here in Turkey for now. And it's just the relationships that we build through all of this is just ridiculous. I mean, this is crazy relationships. On top of that, my coaching is going really, really well to the point where I'm really picky about who I work with now because I want people who are like at a point where they're like, dude, I just need this much more, and I'm over the freaking moon. That's where I come in, right? And because I'll connect you to the people that you need to know, or through my network, bring people in that actually help you get there. We do that as well. And, when I talk about life, people talk about life balance, right? Full life integration, man. Full life integration is where it's at. I don't go on vacation without working, and I don't work without vacation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in Italy. I'm hanging out. I'm in Italy. We're hanging out in the boat. We're on the yacht. We're cruising down Lake Como, looking at the beautiful city. Phone rings, fuel deal. I'm like, baby. She's like, do it. Boom. On the phone. Boom. Right. It's like this. If you're on a bicycle and you're standing still, you're gonna fall over. Right. You can't. There's no balance. You can't balance on a bicycle. Just like you can't balance in life. It's about integration. Once you get moving on that momentum on that bike, like I think I talked about this in the beginning. Once you get moving on that bike, you integrate. You turn by leaning. Right? Because you're integrated into the bike as one. That's how you are with life. That's how I am with life. And so nothing's ever a bother. Nothing ever gets in my way. Nothing ever if I want to go somewhere, we go somewhere. If I want to stay home, we stay home. If we want to travel, we travel. And there's nowhere that I have to be that isn't here on Zoom or on the call. And I can do that from anywhere. And I actually had a guy call me the other day. We had a call, and he's like, and I picked up, I was at a cafe, and I was outside the cafe, and I was facing the Mediterranean, which is where we live. And he's like, Steven, how you doing, man? Please tell me you're at the beach. Please, please, please tell me you're at the beach. And I turned around like, yep, there I am. And he's like, oh, this is so awesome. He's like, because you always preach that you do it. I just wanted to make sure that you really do it. I'm like, here I am, brother. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to live my life, I have to say. And it took a long time to get here, Richard. It wasn't easy. It was a hell of a ride, man. I've lived in 10 countries trying to find where I belong. And do I belong anywhere yet? I don't think so. But I belong with my wife. I know that. I belong with my kids and my stepkids. And for me right now, that's all that matters. Right? That's all that matters.
I think, like you said, I think you also have to celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
Like I went on a cruise to the Bahamas, and I wasn't going to make any videos until I seen you and your wife hanging on the beach, and you made some videos, and I'm like, all right, maybe I need to start doing that. So the picture I have in my profile is me and my wife actually on the Embassy Meraviglia on a banister with just Swarovski crystals, and it's amazing. I was like, you know what? Maybe people want to see not only the failures but the successes too.
Of course they do.
And that's why I made the video, just so I can say, if I can do it as a 9th grade dropout, anybody can do this.
Dude, right? And I love that message too, man. And that's what it's all about. Like, I can sit and teach you all day long. You can be bored shitless, but you see me out doing what I do in action, and you're seeing the life that I'm living. And I'm not saying Ferrari and all this kind of look at my money. I don't do that shit, right? But if I want to talk, if I want to send a message, if I want to, I'm going to do it wherever I am, right? Because that's how I actually live. I actually live like that. So I'm going to do it from where I am at that moment. And if it's the balcony of a villa in Tuscany or wherever it is, that's what I'm going to do. And sometimes it's here in the living room. Sometimes it's we're at Miami or wherever I was. And so, and again, if you don't like it and you think I'm showing off, well, sorry, I'm not. And if you think I am, well, good for you.
So if somebody wants to hire you like Joshua did, how do they go about to doing that? So they can, because if somebody's starting out in business, they may not have the connections, but you do. So how do we go about getting in touch with you to maybe hire you as one of our coaches?
Two things. One is I don't work with startups one-on-one unless it's a very powerful startup that's flipping over from another one or from another business. So I work with established business owners doing 200K or more, typically more, but I can go with 200K, and I can pretty much extrapolate that fairly quickly when it comes to sort of force multiplication, which we talked about before. And then I'm starting a community of business owners, people starting businesses, because I'm getting a lot of feedback about that. Starting a community on school, which is called the Alpha Collective. It's for men and women who want to start or grow and scale their businesses that are under like 100, 200,000. They can get a hold of me, Instagram, Steven Eugene Kuhn. My email is steven@humblealpha.com. And I just have to say, when we speak, I'm going to tell you straight up what I think and what I can do for you and what I think you should do. I'm going to give you value. You're going to walk away from that call, whether we work together or not, with shit that you can implement immediately that'll make a big difference. And so I'm not saying come on the call to get the freebies. I'm saying if you're serious, give me a holler. If you just want to dabble, don't worry calling, because I don't want to waste your time or my time. I want to have someone who's hungry. Look, it's like this. If I'm not hungry, there's no urgency. If there's no urgency, I'm not going shopping and I'm not going to eat, right? So if you're not hungry and you have no urgency, I'm not going to help you go shopping, right? So urgency and hunger, brothers and sisters. That's if you got that and you feel it in your bones and you want to make it happen, then let's get on a call. If not, there's plenty of coaches out there that can help you, at a pace that's maybe more for you. Me, I go fast and dirty. I'm in your face. You have 24-hour access to me per WhatsApp. We can Zoom call as many as you want. We have scheduled calls, but you can call in between. I have one guy, he's been a client for a year. He sends me literally 10 to 15 voice messages a day. And it's just like advice, bam, bam, bam. I'm going back and forth. And it doesn't bother me at all. I love it. It's what I live for.
Now, is your book available still on Amazon?
Oh yeah, Amazon and Audible. It's still rolling too, man. It's still doing really well. It's college curriculum in 8 or 10 universities in America. The book is supposed to be getting translated into Spanish with a new co-author. So we're going to switch out some pieces that Lane wrote, and he's going to write his own pieces in there. It was his idea. And I'm like, this is perfect. What I'm talking about. He's like, I love your book. I want to write a book with you. I'm like, why don't you just take that book, put your parts in that Lane did, put your name on it, and we'll sell it in Spanish. He's like, all right. So he's rewriting it, and then we'll send it to an audit, and it'll be like an updated version, but with a different co-author. So, it's force multiplication, man. I'm not doing any of it. He's doing it. My part stays the same. Maybe I'll add some stuff. We'll see.
So, brother, I just want to say thank you for your friendship and mentorship all these years. Like I said, it's got to be at least 8 years that we're friends, and I'm just truly grateful and humble that you were willing to jump in my ass when I needed it, but you were also willing to give me a hug at the same time in DC and say, you got this. So I just want to say thank you.
And look where you are. You do got it, and you're making it happen. Despite everything, all the shit that you went through.
Yep.
Pretty amazing, man. It's pretty amazing. Proud of you, man. Really.
I love it. So, guys, if you're a veteran, make sure you check out Vetpreneur Tribe. If you want to join the Warrior Council, or if you want to be involved in a mastermind where we're going to be making sure that you succeed, join the Warrior Council for less than a cup of coffee a day. Come on, guys. So I just wanted to say I love you guys, and thank you for always showing up. We are the #1 Vetpreneur podcast in the world because of you guys. Steven, I love you, brother. Have an amazing week.
You too, brother. Thank you so much.
And tell your beautiful bride we said hey.
Amen to that.
All right, guys. Remember, vertical momentum. The only way to go is up. I love you guys. I will talk to you later. See you tomorrow.